My mother was a celebrated beauty. Celebrated by my father, certainly. He always seemed to take a special pride in the constant attentions she received from other gentlemen, and further in the fact that he had been the fortunate one who had snagged her for his own. And he treasured her, as one might a prized trophy. He was quite the handsome man himself. My two elder sisters had inherited the best of both and were considered extremely lovely. Quite the handsome family, in fact, if it hadn't been for me. I had the misfortune to be born covered in hair, and though I soon molted, my mother said, often and much to my father's amusement, that she could never get away from her initial fear that she had given birth to a chimp. As if to underscore their disappointment, as I grew, the adjectives I heard most frequently applied to my given name of Jane were plain and dull. My cleverness, on the other hand, was not considered an asset, and so I was generally locked in a shuttered room when my family entertained illustrious visitors, as they frequently did, for they moved in the highest social circles. Having thus to amuse myself, I developed a musical talent on the penny whistle that I found on the midden in the garden on one of the rare occasions I was allowed out to play. Entirely self-taught, through trial and error, I was eventually able to play the classics by ear. It was a talent I chose not to share, however, and would only employ in the uppermost turret of the house, or when my family was socializing at another location. On the one fateful day, I was interrupted by the housekeeper whilst performing a rendition of Brahms' Piano Concerto No. 2. I remember very little of my reaction upon hearing of the tragic accident that had befallen my family. It had occurred while they were out visiting Lord and Lady Montague's mansion, one spring day in my 18th year. For some unexplained reason, their coach and horses, having taken a wrong turn, dove over a cliff's edge, killing all involved. I do recall my lips were chapped, but beyond that. Thus, finding myself extremely wealthy but alone in the world, and unaware of my newly acquired attraction, I was completely unprepared for the arrival of a distant cousin, a clergyman, the Reverend Ambrose Snyde, with whom I was unfamiliar, who presented me with his proposal of marriage. I was disinclined to accept, not least because he was so deeply unattractive. Even plain Janes, if it need be admitted, are not immune to physical appearance, and I declined his offer with a polite, "No chance." He pressured me to reconsider on the grounds that no one else was likely to ask me, and did I want to end up an old maid. Having given his charming entreaty all due consideration, I informed the Reverend Snyde that whilst I might be fed up, I would never be that hard up, and sent him away with that flea in his ear. In the ensuing weeks, I made full use of my newfound freedom, and took to the habit of long, solitary expeditions into the surrounding countryside. It was on one such jaunt that I stumbled upon the gypsy encampment that had sprung up on the perimeter of my property. A circle of gaily painted caravans surrounded a central fire and a space where women and girls sat around sewing or preparing food, and barefoot children played. Music and merriment abounded, and drew me inexorably forward, out from the bushes and into the open, until, unable to resist, I took my tin whistle from my pocket, and I joined in with the hypnotic melody. All other accompaniments fell away, and the startled party around the fire stared at me curiously, in silence, as the tune died on my own lips. I smiled awkwardly. One of the elder women introduced herself then as Gypsy Rosalinda, and stated that if I covered her palm with silver, she would tell me my fortune. Having agreed to the exchange, out of embarrassment as much as anything else, With a nod, she led me inside the most ostentatious of all the caravans, and bade me sit at the table where her crystal ball was displayed. Having crossed her palm with the requisite currency, she began, "I fear, my dear, your face will never be your fortune." "'Tis no matter," I assured her. "I have fortune enough." "Ah, but you long for the love that neither beauty nor money can buy." And here she began to tell me things of which she cannot have had any knowledge, things from my past, from my present, things that I could barely admit to myself, things that I had never heard of, but which caused my womanly passions to flame. "However," she went on, "you have a talent, a wonderful thing." She indicated my pocket. I slipped my hand inside. "You mean my penny whistle?" "I do." I looked at her curiously. "You would do well to remember the tune you played earlier, for it is a glamour, an enchantment that will ensnare the heart that you desire." "I just play that tune." "You just play it in his presence, and he will be thine." It was but 3 days later that I took another stroll, this time down by the lake, my head still full of wild imaginings. The first oddity I saw was a neatly folded pile of gentlemen's clothing upon some decking, with a top hat atop this. Then, as I stepped back, hastily under cover of trees, I spied the figure of a naked man, with his back to me, about to dive from the jetty into the water. He had the body of a Greek god, or at least what I imagined to be the body of a Greek god, as portrayed in marble on the postcards my father had kept in the secret drawer in his bureau. The musculature in his broad back, powerful thighs and buttocks, were just as artfully rendered. I waited for him to swim a ways before, seating myself on a neighbouring rock with my back to him, I took out my tin whistle and played again that haunting melody. Minutes passed before a dark masculine voice spoke at my rear. "Forgive me, miss, but I think I am in love." I turned to see him, covering his embarrassment with his top hat. He smiled, revealing a charming little gap in his top 2 front teeth. He had big ears and a receding hairline. It was not a face that would normally be considered handsome, but it was beautiful to me.